Hello and welcome to the STRT Over Coffee podcast. My name is Shakayla Smith and I lead the community and marketing here at STRT. STRT Over Coffee is all about having conversations with creators in the Salt Lake City area. And for this episode, we'll be interviewing entrepreneur Vini Domnigues, CEO and co-founder at LinkerDots and TriUp Supplements. And so LinkerDots is a digital marketing agency that takes your business to the next level. And TriUp Supplements is a workout supplement company designed and created to get you in the zone during your workout quickly and consistently. And on this podcast, we'll be discussing his startup, LinkerDots, and how digital marketing is important to grow your business. So, hey, Vini, how are you?
Good. How are you, Shay?
Good. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to be here. I'm really excited. I really love your community, and it's great to be a part of that community, the startup community.
Thank you. Yeah. So cool. So you have started a new company, LinkerDots. So that's I'm pretty sure that's keeping you busy because now you have two startups that you're working on. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I actually started LinkerDots about 10 months ago, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been an incredible journey into digital marketing, and growing the company has been so much fun. And it's really been fun because my other startup that I have, the e-com company, they sync together really well. So we actually use that as we call that our incubation company, where we actually help LinkerDots helps that company grow while putting, our internal marketing team to do that.
Oh, cool. That's
Yeah.
clever, actually. I like how you make it coexist and make it so then when one business grows, it helps the other business. So that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we look for and we like a lot. So it's been a lot of fun.
So cool. Yeah. Let's have the podcast listeners listen to kind of who you are, what you're working on, get a little background. So yeah, tell us about yourself and what you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, how far would you like me to go back? I mean, back into the Brazil days
Whatever
or?
you want, honestly. It's open-ended for you.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's great. Well, I'm Vini Domnigues. I came from Brazil. My whole family migrated from Brazil, and we came here. I was born in Orlando, Florida. My brother was born in Provo. My little sister was born in Sao Paulo. So it was a lot of fun to come here. It was very interesting to learn English. That was very exciting for me. English was definitely not an easy language to learn, especially when you come, from speaking Portuguese your entire life. And that was really fun for us. And my dad has always had the entrepreneurial mindset, really hardworking, came from a very, very poor family. And so when he came to America, he saw America as the land of opportunity. He said, this is where we're gonna take our kids, and we like to say something. It's we have you ever seen A Knight's Tale? No. Well, there's if the listeners have seen A Knight's Tale, there's this part where he says, "Oh, William, did you change your stars?" And that's kind of like a motto that our whole family had growing up. And he's, that was something that we talked about with my dad, and it was just really fun for us. So he's always had that. He's always been very hardworking. And me and my brother, we really embody that spirit. And with LinkerDots, it's actually me, my brother, my dad, and two other partners who actually opened up the company. So it's been really fun. It's still a family thing. Me and my brother are actually the ones working heavily on it, and my dad is over there giving us, advice, especially when it comes to sales. He's a great salesman. He's something that he does really well. So it's a little bit about me, and I've been in Utah my entire life. I love Utah. What a beautiful place to be, and a great place to start up a company as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's an amazing story. I think
Thank you.
it's so cool to beyond the business and everything, like just you as an individual and how you grew up, I think says a lot about you. And what you're pursuing is really ambitious. And I think, it's obviously cultivated in your family. So that's such a beautiful thing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, so talk about TriUp Supplements a little bit and then LinkerDots.
Mhm.
Kind of what stage you're at, what are those startups about? Yeah, a little bit about your mission there.
Of course. Do you want me to start with Triumph first and then
Sure.
LinkerDots? Okay,
Yeah.
great. So Triumph Supplements is a company that I started about in 2019. It's a nootropic for gamers. The goal for that product was I saw a trend in the bodybuilding community around 2007, 2008. And that's when a lot of supplements were coming out and the public didn't have a lot of scientific literature on those ingredients. And so what I started to notice is this evolution within the bodybuilding community and ingredients and effective supplements and effective doses. And I thought to myself, okay, is there something similar to that in the gaming community? Because I've always loved to lift and I've always loved to play video games. Those two things were always, they took a lot of stress out of me. So I thought to myself, I said, okay, is there anything like this in the gaming community? So I started to dig deep and I noticed that it was a very similar trend in the gaming community where a lot of the companies that were coming out that were making products that the ingredients, they weren't effective. They were very watered down. I mean, just not effective dosage. It would require multiple scoops in order for it to be effective. And I thought to myself, I can create something better. And I found the scientific literature for the ingredients that I wanted to. I read it. I had multiple test trials and I created Triumph, which then it started to become that something for gamers.
Cool. I love
Yeah.
it. How about LinkerDots?
Oh, LinkerDots, it's actually because I started Triumph in 2019, I started learning a whole lot about digital marketing and picking up mentors, and people were just teaching me how to grow your company, how to scale your e-com brand. And I was learning. And then while Triumph was growing and building, I and my dad actually introduced us to a couple of our mentors and the people who work alongside us as partners in LinkerDots now. And they actually had grown their own ecom businesses up to $5+ million. They had done multiple digital marketing and they were teaching me. And I thought to myself, I said, I've learned so much, I've grown so much. And I go, I want to bring this back to people as well. And I want to
I
give
love
it
that.
back. I go, that's something that I've always thought to myself. I said, we could give back to people, of course, at the value that we believe it's right. And I thought to myself, hey, I talked to my brother. I said, we could do this. I go, we could teach people about it. We could help them. We could help them grow their companies. We could help them scale. We can help them make their dreams come true. I mean, it's something that's happened to us. It's something that we could do for other people. I said, let's just put our minds together and let's go get it. And my brother said, yeah, definitely, let's go. So we were super excited, and that was kind of the journey, the transition into that, and it was really fun for me.
Cool. I love that your brother hypes you up. It's
Oh
like,
yeah,
it just helps just having the other person telling you that, like, let's do it. I think that really helps. That's way awesome. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
So how did you know you were an entrepreneur? How did you start as an entrepreneur? Was it just Triumph Supplements and you were like, I found a problem and a solution? Or, I mean, like, how did you know? Was it something that you've always known?
Yeah, I would say something I've always known, something I've
Yeah.
always watched my dad do and my mom do. One thing that I'm really grateful for is my mother and how strong she is, because I mean, I'm just saying some of the stuff my dad has endured has definitely been because of my mom, and she also has that spirit about her. She's also very simple. So for me, how I started becoming an entrepreneur and knew that that's what I've always wanted to do is when I was like 8 or 9. We were living in Cottonwood Heights, and I said, Dad, I'm gonna build a bike company, like a fixing bikes. And my dad said, yeah, I mean, okay, it was, so I got a bunch of posters and a bunch of signs, and I started writing, hey, $5, I'll fix your whole bike for you. Doesn't matter what kind of problem it has. And I started just putting up signs in my neighborhood, and got a couple clients. Then I had the funniest story. I actually shut down that little business because one client came in and yeah, he's let me work on his bike, $5. I mean, it's not a whole lot. And I couldn't fix it. I couldn't fix the bike. It was terrifying. And my dad said, all right, Vinny, you go back and you return his money, you return his bike, and you say, I couldn't fix your bike. And that made me a little sad. So, shut down that little business that little business that I had. That's
That's
my
amazing.
that's my starter story. And then growing up, I've always been more of a, as you could tell from my hair, more of a free kind of wild kind of. I like to experience new things and learn how to scale and
Sure.
grow. And before I went to college, I knew that as soon as out of high school, that's the first thing I want to do. I want to build a business. So when I went to college, I said, I'm going to build a business. I go, do you guys teach me how we're going to do that? I'm going to do that. And that's how it was. So
That's amazing.
started very early on for me.
That's hilarious. You're like, I always knew.
Yeah.
I love how you knew not that much about bikes and you were like, I'm just gonna do it.
Yes, that's always been my mentality because I know that I'll learn and I know that I will be able to, through experience, I will learn the greatest amount. And that's what I do. I'm the kind of person that I do. And if I make a mistake, I go, hey guys, I made that mistake. I apologize. Would you like to teach me how to do that better? And majority of the people that are around me right now, if not all the people that are around me right now, they always, yeah, I would love to. Here's what you did wrong. Here's how you can grow. Here's how you can get better. And I love that. For me, that's something that's very entrepreneurial. And I love being able to, I'm not saying that we make a lot of mistakes, but I love to be able to make mistakes and grow from it. To me, that is incredible. I'm not afraid to fail. I have no fear of that. I failed when I was young. That was very dramatic already. You know what I mean? That was my one experience. Is like, not gonna do that again.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That is the mentality of an entrepreneur. I mean, you really have to take risk and sacrifices and be willing to learn and grow because it is such a humbling experience. I mean, all the times we think we know something and then we always get told something more than we knew or that we're wrong. So I mean, we just have to learn and grow through experience. Am I doing? I totally agree 100%. That's
Of
amazing.
course. Thank you.
So, yeah, of course. Let's talk about LinkerDots and basically digital marketing and the basics of digital marketing.
Of course.
I mean, I'm sure based off what you told me in the story, it's like,
Mhm.
LinkerDots, you kind of just learn to do digital marketing based off of your other startup. And so what in digital marketing have you found different from traditional marketing and traditional marketing strategies?
Of course.
Yeah.
One main thing that I can say, if people who do digital marketing will know this for sure, is that it's a lower cost than traditional media.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's so much lower than television commercials, radio,
Yeah.
billboard, magazine ads, mail, mailbox. I mean, it's so much. It's a less cost, and it allows for companies similar to Triumph that were small from the start to really get good brand visibility, which is incredible. I mean, it does allow for us to even out the playing field, especially when you figure out your break-even funnels, your specific funnels, your value ladders. It really does allow for you to build a company from the ground up with almost no funding to a big company. And that is incredibly beautiful about digital marketing. That's one thing I know for a fact that's very, very different and incredible.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because looking at the market today, and every year it changes, especially digital marketing. It just changes every year in the saturation and like the new ways of marketing and strategy. And I was thinking about TikTok the other day. I'm like, how crazy it is that people on TikTok just blow up and because of visibility, just because of visibility. And I mean, it no longer takes a billboard, a crazy billboard that costs, I don't know. I don't really know how many dollars it costs for a billboard per month, but say like 500,
Mhm.
it's crazy how much savings and cost you really help your company grow without having to just put money into it.
Yeah, 100%. And a billboard is a huge upfront investment that you make.
Yeah.
Of course, you have your products and your services that you invest into. There are incredible strategies that some startups use that I I've been working with a startup as well that what we did for them is we actually did a whole pre-sale order. We built up their entire email list and SMS list. And then from there, as soon as their products dropped, boom, all the emails went out, all the SMS went out, their entire strategy, and people just come in and start buying it. And it was incredible to see. And that's what digital marketing allows for us to do as well.
Yeah.
That email list, that SMS list, they're incredibly valuable for
Yeah.
all the companies because it becomes traffic that is yours. That's you own that traffic. You can transfer it to multiple different places. And that's something that I learned as well with digital marketing besides traditional marketing, right? Billboards,
Sure.
you don't own them. They're not
Yeah.
yours. Those are not
Yeah.
your assets. You always have to continue to pay for them. But email and SMS, those are your assets. And
Yeah,
that's
no, I
incredible to
love
have.
that perspective. Yeah, I think that's such a good perspective I haven't really thought of. It's like you really do own them, and it's with that email list. I mean, it's easy because you know that they're interested, right? Like it's
Mhm.
already targeted for you once you targeted that audience. And that email list, it's like you could tell them whatever and then they'll be alerted. It's a
Yes.
crazy. Like there's text message now, there's email, there's now LinkedIn. Like it's crazy
Yes.
how many different ways you could reach your target audience now.
Exactly. And think about something as well as the Facebook groups or the Slack groups that you currently have,
Yeah.
Discord groups. I mean, those groups, they can just build organically. And that becomes a lot of traffic that you can honestly, you could build your entire Slack community by bringing people free value. And from there, people just start to buy your product because they start to resonate with you and they start to see you as just not a company, but as a person as
Yeah.
well. And that brings a lot of value to you as well. I mean, that's what digital marketing allows. Traditional marketing with billboards, with television commercials, it doesn't do that. It doesn't have that same personalized feeling.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I would agree. I mean, it's interesting too, right? Because a lot of people, and this is in the startup community, is like a lot of people want traffic to their direct website, which is amazing. Like everyone wants that.
Mhm.
But what do you think about the methods of SEO and building that and like making sure when you type in example start that you're the first one?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts there? Because it's so saturated now. I think people worry about them not getting website traffic.
That's a great question. One thing that I definitely have to say is start now is SEO is a long-term game, 100%.
Yeah.
And some companies, they don't have the endurance for it. Honestly, it takes constant correcting of backlinks, constant correcting of tags and where you want to be placed and how you want to be placed. It's a long-term game. It takes months, if not years, to really build up your domain authority score. And one thing that a lot of people, when it comes to SEO, that they need to consider as well, the fundamentals need to be in place. So setting up your Google My Business listing and taking advantage that everything that Google My Business has and publishing frequently on social media. Yes, that sometimes does help with your SEO listing. It's not only just about the links, but it's also increasing your brand mentions online. And all of these things, they work in unison. There's just so much that goes into SEO. That's why I say some companies don't have the endurance for it. That's why it's great to outsource it to digital marketing companies, because that's literally what we do on a day-to-day basis. Our technician is the one that goes out there and does it on a day-to-day basis. There's multitude of other ways to build your SEO. For example, publishing press releases, which is great. It's something that we've seen really skyrocket domain authority. I know a lot of people say that it's saturated with SEO. What happens is that if you don't continue staying on top and continue building that, someone's going to come overlap you. So you can't just say, well, I've reached domain authority score. Let's just say for the sake of numbers, 40, which is a great domain authority score. It's strong. And you stop there. And then you, so I've reached 40. Okay. But you've got to continue that and continue building. And with that, you can lose your position if you don't. So something to definitely think about when people say it's saturated in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about e-commerce specifically in the sense that like I feel like Google Ads, is taken and overran by these big companies. Like if you Google t-shirt, you're going to get huge companies at the top of shopping, for example. And so then all these small businesses, they need some traction, they need some presence there. I mean, and it takes a lot of money in that sense, but SEO I feel like is a good way. If you have your SEO nailed down, it's a good way to compete without having to do Google Ads.
Yeah, definitely. Google Ads is something that we've seen for some of the e-com companies that we're working for, that is working well for them. Even though they're smaller companies, not bigger
That's
companies,
great.
we see them work well. Our Google Ads technician, he really understands the keywords and the phrasing necessary to really get people to click on it. And it's been very fun to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know there's like bidding wars that happen for
Yes.
Google Ads, and I'm like, It is way over my head, to be honest, the bidding wars. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do that. That is insane. But that's amazing. Yeah, I kind of want to dive a little bit into that a little bit more on how sales growth and revenue generation and how digital marketing helps that. And I know that's very vague, but I mean, with social media, with SEO, what have you seen? Like, what are some strategies you've seen that have driven sales generation and revenue generation directly?
Okay. One thing that I've seen directly is not focusing on just one sales channel. That is a huge component of marketing and digital marketing. If you focus, I read a cool story from Russell Bronson in one of the books that he provides, which is Traffic Secrets. And he was talking about the earlier stages of Google Ads when he was running Google Ads and he was in his dorm room. And what happened was he was just focusing on just Google Ads as the traffic source to his site. And then as soon as Google Ads changed their algorithm or the way that it worked, everything came crashing down. And that's what everybody needs to keep in mind, is that you need to focus on each component of your business in the digital marketing space to really compile and put everything together, because the little pieces that you do get, those are very essential. And that's why something that I mentioned earlier was the email and SMS is to build the traffic that you own, because that's in the back end. So when we're looking for sales growth and revenue generation, I do want to give one example, if you don't mind. We currently work with a company where they were a bit old school and they didn't really know much about digital marketing. They didn't really want to go into it. And we actually ended up talking to them and said, hey, look, we believe that would be really beneficial for your company to come in and start doing some digital marketing with us. We were able to get them on board, and we were able to give them 10 times X ROAS, so return on ad spend, which has been amazing because they have a good product and people want it. And there's a lot of people within that space, but because we were able to combine everything together, we were able to make them grow in that sense in the sales revenue. That's looking on the front end. You want to think about your front end and your back end, and a whole lot in between that. So
Sure.
when it comes to revenue generation, what we look for as a company, this is one of our targets for every single sales channel, is to have at least a 2x ROAS. So at least. So this is a 2 times return on your ad spend for each client and every sales channel that they go with. And then we like to optimize their backend funnels. This is optimizing their SMS list, optimizing their AOV, so their average order value, and optimizing their email list to figure out, okay, this customer didn't buy, so we send them an abandoned cart email. Okay, great. We're going to run multiple tests on different types of emails and see which one of these emails will convert for the person who abandoned the cart. And then when after they and say, okay, this email has been working really well to get them to come back and actually buy. Great. So we're going to use this one, and it's going to be used multiple times, and then we're going to put up against another test. We in our company, we love to test. That's something that I love about digital marketing. Remember how we were talking about earlier about failing?
Yeah.
We love to test because
Yeah.
it's kind of what happens. I mean, with so many changes that digital marketing has, it's so constant. Testing is the best way to go. Yeah, that didn't work. Okay, cool. We're trying this. Okay, this worked. Great. Scale it. Make a move. Make the needle move. Let's turn it. All right. Optimize the back end. Make sure that everything's flowing well in the back end as well, so we can optimize it. Continue to get recurring revenue there as well. Our goal is to get our clients recurring revenue and increase their AOV and lower their CPA. That's kind of the general idea.
Sure. No, I think that was super detail oriented. Like the way you explained that was so detailed. No, I think that's amazing. I think something that really stuck out to me, what you said, is like it's always changing. Like digital marketing is always evolving. And for me, it's like it is testing. Like, you know, marketing on my end, I'm like always testing things. You just don't know what's gonna work. It's, you know, but don't be married to a test, you know.
Exactly.
That's the thing, like you can't get married to it, because when you get married to it you get frustrated. And basically I wanted to kind of talk about digital marketing tools that you utilize, or is it just strategies, I guess, but what are they? What are the tools or strategies that you utilize?
Of course. So That is a loaded question. I love it. That's a great loaded question. So let's start out with some of just the tools, and then we'll move on to the strategy. So
Cool.
tools you like to use for Google Ads. Of course, we use our Google Ads tools. We like that for Facebook. We also, for Google Ads, we like to use Google Tag Manager just to be able to track our analytics and our Google Pixel. For Facebook, we use a Facebook Pixel Helper to track the pixel, make sure all the pixels are in place within it. For ecom, we specifically like Shopify because there's a lot of internal apps within Shopify that we really like. Well, one example, some of my favorite apps, okay, this is called Giftbox. Giftbox is an incredible app. If you go to Triumph, there's a little Giftbox, little pop-up that pops up, and it says, if you spend $55, you get a free t-shirt. Well, that's great because on our end, it actually doesn't cost us a whole lot to produce that t-shirt or make it. As anybody who makes apparel, doesn't cost us a whole lot, which is great for us. So what I really like about this is that it increases our AOV per order. So our average order value, which normally would be, let's assume, just for the sake of the price point, $30. But now they're paying $55 or more. And now we increase our AOV, which means our cost per acquisition or cost per sale can be a little bit higher, which means we can run more tests. And again, it all goes together on that a little bit. So that's one that I really like, Giftbox, to increase the AOV total. I also like Postscript.io for SMS texting. I like it. I like their automations. They send the text messages look good, but I like SMS. So if you decided that you wanted to put an SMS app on your store, definitely do it. I like Postscript.io. It's worked well. I like Klaviyo. Everybody says a little bit different. That's the email marketing one that I like. I know I have others who like MailChimp. MailChimp is also really good. Not one I've used, not one I haven't used frequently, but one I don't use frequently because I like Klaviyo better. This is my personal preference. There are a couple themes as well that I like to use as tools, right? So there's it's called Out of the Sandbox themes. These are for Shopify, specifically for e-commerce and Shopify. They're already optimized for mobile, optimized speeds. It looks great. It functions super well, and it's just clean. It looks great. It's a great looking theme. It's very easy to install. I like that as well. For another way to increase AOV, I like one-click upsell as well. One-click upsell. So after a person checks out, already purchases, then an upsell comes, and this upsell will then give them, for example, if you buy one bottle of Triumph, so it goes to the thank you page, and it pops up an additional page that says, hey, would you like another bottle of Triumph for 20% off or 30% off? This also helps with the increase of your average order value, which then goes back to the whole part. Those are some tools that I like as well. And just for increasing AOV, helping out with the clients, looking at their back end, and a little bit of their front end as well. When we talk about strategies, man, we can go into a lot there. Do you have like a specific idea on what we want to do on maybe a strategy that you might have in mind or something you're thinking about it?
Maybe a strategy direct to, I think you hit a lot, like already on the tools, you basically hit on the strategy aspect of it as well. But maybe a little bit about how you strategize more sales for a new product, for a product launch, for even an app. I mean, yeah, just touching up on strategy to increase more sales.
Of course. One thing that we like to do is engaging short videos, really engaging with the short videos. They're really nice. They're great for ads, and they're great for social media as well. Things that are right, concise, to the point. We like those a lot. For strategies for growing more sales, it's very dependent on the type of industry that we're in, because for ecom we'll have different strategies. We'll have different strategies for sales. For LinkerDots, we'll have different sales strategies as well. But one that I really like, that's quite universal, that everybody can do, that's free. It pretty much doesn't take a lot of, it just takes time to do. And this is a reference that I like to call, again, I got this from Russell Bronson. I'm a big fan of who he is. Do you know Russell Bronson is the
Yeah.
owner, you found out ClickFunnels? Yes. He says your dream 100. I love looking and modeling after your dream 100. It's great. We like to look at the dream 100 of the companies that we possibly are working with, and then say, okay, what does their ideal customer look like, and why? What are they doing? What are they saying? What kind of content are they posting? And what are they saying within that content? How are they engaging with their potential customers or potential clients? And we like to start to look at that and say, okay, great. Starts to give us ideas on type of content that we can post. So this is a strategy for getting more sales that's organic, that won't cost someone a lot for now that someone could do. And we go in there, we'll actually comment, we'll talk, we'll engage with people, we'll repost, we'll share, we'll buy their merchandise. And this will allow for them to see who we are. And with that, it becomes really cool because we start to build a really fun relationship with them. And then slowly but surely we end up talking with them, and then sliding into their DMs and talking with them and saying, hey, it's great to meet you, it's great to know you. And not sell them off the bit, but just try to get to know the person themselves and really personalize and empathize with that person and slowly build that relationship. So something that we really like for sales is building relationship.
Yeah.
And it's really fun for me. That's an organic, free way that anybody could do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think you hitting on how you slide into people's DMs and the customer relationships are really important. Like, it's funny, what has gone viral the last couple years is just like crazy fast food companies on Twitter tweeting crazy stuff, and people, like, it goes viral because people are like, whoa, they're paying attention. And I think a lot of it is like, if your company is paying attention to other people than itself and their selves, it really does show in how they care and how they interact. And I love that. I think that's a great strategy. Speaking of content strategies, what have you noticed that has changed from 2020 to 2021 thus far?
Shorter attention spans.
Yeah.
Honestly, shorter attention
Yeah.
spans. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how much people's minds have shifted in that way. They're just, if you don't catch their eyes within a couple of seconds, it's unlikely for them to return to even think about you again.
Yeah.
And that's something that when you're building your customer avatar, your customer persona, you really need to consider. Is this person constantly where? Where are they located? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? So if so, how can I create the most engaging video, photo, creative headline copy that will catch their attention like that? And if I can do that, I can win a customer.
That is such a good point. I think a lot of it, it's funny because I like long form podcasts. I think some people prefer that, a lot of people do. But so many people, when they're looking for a product, especially e-commerce, I mean, yeah, you're right. Their attention span is literally so short, and especially on social media. Especially if you're marketing on social media. I mean, people scroll so fast, they click away so fast. I mean, that is such a good point. Yeah.
And make sure that your website loading speed is very quick, because
Yeah.
people will not take the
Yeah.
time to open it. I'm telling you, it
Yeah.
blew my mind how much that changed over this past year, because so many more people are on their phone. They're not, working multiple different jobs. They're not doing, they're just not working as much,
Yeah.
so they're spending more time on their phones.
That's
And
a good point.
because of that, you have to make sure that everything is optimized, and
Yeah.
your landing page speed has to be optimized as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I would agree. Something interesting, just like the past year, I've noticed since small businesses have gone, sometimes obsolete. So some small businesses have disintegrated because of COVID, and some have just like done well or have barely made it, whatever. But some of the restaurant like websites have just completely stopped working. there's so many of them, and I'm like, dang it just makes me not want to go there because the menu isn't showing. Like, I mean, it's crazy how important a website could be, especially if you use Google for a location. I'm like, I Google, for example, Pretty Bird. I love Pretty Bird. It's like super good. Go to Pretty Bird, and then you click on their website. I mean, from Google, and I mean how important that is, especially for retaining customers but getting new ones.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't want to assume anything, but you also look
Yeah.
at the reviews on Google as well, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
right before you make your decision.
Yeah.
And that's where SEO comes in. And that's where this is something that I actually forgot to mention earlier. Another app that I love for Shopify is it's Stamped. Stamp.io. It's reviews. It's for reviews. It looks beautiful, and reviews are essential in the digital marketing age because people resonate with other people's reviews. I can look at multiple different reviews, and for me, when I'm actually purchasing something, I will look at the 3-star reviews and not the 5 and not the 1, because sometimes 1 becomes. I've read some 1-star reviews that I thought this has nothing to do with the product.
Yeah.
And it seems very, very personal.
Right.
And I'm sorry that you had a personal attachment to this product, but it's not. For me, I personally don't feel that it's a fair review. So 3 stars, 2.5 stars, you really start to get to the nitty and gritty of how people honestly feel about a product or a service, and make a good determination from there. So, like you said, from Google. And reviews, very, very important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when you dive into digital marketing, there's so many things. It's overwhelming. You have to definitely start going in funnels, and diving in. And I think Google is a funnel in itself, and you go way deep into Google and how that works. And I mean, how about Google Analytics? What's your thoughts there? And then versus Facebook Analytics. I mean, they're obviously 2 different platforms with 2 different purposes, but what do you think about those 2?
Great question. So first I want to start out by saying that Apple and Facebook are currently have a really big feud. And that messed up a lot of Facebook analytics. And that's very unfortunate. So right now, Facebook analytics, in my opinion, is skewed. Then that's where Google Analytics comes in. It compensates for some of the stuff that happens within Facebook. Some of the stuff, not all of the stuff, of course.
Right.
We still look at a couple metrics. One metric that we want to look for that we actually increased our average after this Apple update is the link click-through rate. We increased our average to 3%.
It's amazing.
To make it even higher. Just the goal for that was, guys, we need to make sure that the link click-through rate is higher because the Facebook analytics aren't as complete. And then we also started asking for the back end of our clients as well, which majority of them that we had, but some of the ones that we didn't have, that some clients weren't as comfortable, saying, hey, I want you looking in the back end. Some clients are that way, but then we talk to them, hey guys, because of this, we need to understand what's going on in the back end so that we can truly optimize and help you guide as much as possible. Google Analytics, I'm a big fan of. I actually look at Google Analytics on a regular basis.
Yeah.
We all do. We like to see it. I also have it attached to a majority of our e-com sites, and we see the revenue from it, and almost syncs up from Google Analytics to Shopify. Sometimes they're not completely perfect, but they do work. But Google Analytics for me is a lot more accurate, and it also gives me organic search as well. So what's going on with my SEO? And where people are going, how long they're spending on my site. This is all great stuff to track. So I am a bigger fan of Google Analytics than I am Facebook Analytics.
I agree. It's amazing what Google Analytics could tell you, and the reports you could create in there. And it's so insightful. And I think utilizing that tool and really understanding what each metric means dissecting that is really important for your business. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Facebook analytics kind of makes me mad because I go on there and it's kind of messy. I can't really understand, like sometimes I have to really dig through tabs to just see how many link clicks on a specific post. Like you really have to dive. It's just not user friendly in my opinion. You really have to dive in there.
Yeah. Facebook is a whole another beast, and that's something that we've gotten good at conquering.
Yeah.
But with this new Apple update, I mean, we still, again, we increased our average. It's still it's never been my favorite look of analytics. I agree with you. It's so I don't know. My perspective just feels a bit, how do I say? It's organized after you organize all of your columns.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain the thought that I have in my head about Facebook. It's just it's kind of like a gut feeling. Like,
yeah.
It's
just not as clean. It's not as seamless.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
So I want to kind of go back and step back and kind of talk about LinkerDots and just you as a digital marketing agency. What sets you apart, and what has been, the thing that makes you stand out as a digital marketing agency? Because there's so many of them. It's like, how do people pick? How do people choose? What makes you guys different?
What makes us different? One, we have multiple things that make us different. One thing that we like to pride ourselves in is no contracts at all.
Yeah.
We only work month to month. So if you're not happy with our work, cancel like this.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're not going to work together on the month of June. Say, we apologize for anything that we can do to continue making this better for you. Are you willing to give us another month? And we have a lot of clients who they really like working with us month to month, and that not only shows like us as a company that we're comfortable with our work, and not only comfortable but aggressive and proactive with our work, because we're saying, hey guys, by next month we understand that this client can no longer be with us. We need to continue making this work for them and making it happen. And that also brings us customers that are quite loyal to us, because from month to month they have to make that conscious decision to pay us, and it's not automated. We have them pay us month by month. We can have it automated when they want to, when they ask for it, but we usually don't, because when they make that conscious decision, it's worthwhile for them. That means the work that we're doing for them is worth it. And that's what we want them. That's what we want to embody as LinkerDots is, hey, how good of work are we doing for this client to make sure that they're with us month to month? That's one big, for me, that's something that I love about. And we have no startup fees, no retainer fees, no cancellation fees. So you cancel at any time, and then, okay, that's it, and you keep all of your assets. We've heard of really terrible reviews that this was actually some of the 3-star reviews. They said they didn't let us keep the assets. They deleted the whole thing. And I said, that's terrible. You don't do that to people. The goal here is to help them succeed, not for just you to succeed. I mean, the goal is to have a symbiotic relationship between customer or client and company, an agency. We also have a Slack channel that we directly communicate with our clients every day. They can ask us any questions that they want every single day. We give monthly reports and weekly reports. So they get 2 different types of reports to say how everything is going. And we don't hide our work. If we didn't do something proper, let's say on 1 week, it's not a good week. We don't hide that. We're transparent with them. And then we tell them exactly what we're doing to fix that. Hey guys, this is our issue. We apologize. It wasn't the greatest week. This is what we're doing to make it right and to make it work. These are our strategies. This is our plan. And we're going to implement it right now and test it. And we're going to get this going for you again.
I love that. That's great. That's awesome. What have you learned through this process? I mean, it seems like you're heavily focused on customer service, which I love personally. Like, I think that's everything, honestly. But what have you learned through this process and are continuing to learn with your customers and clients? Because although, you know a lot about digital marketing and you have these strategies and these tools, but it's so hard to perfect customer relationships. And I could see that's something, I learn and grow every day from that. But what is something that you're learning as you grow this company, that has been really essential for you?
Oh, Shay, you have the greatest questions.
Thanks.
I love them. Something that I've learned, honestly speaking, is without being too sentimental here, but
Yeah.
compassionate towards the people who are going through, because we've worked with quite a bit of startups, and they do have their constant struggles. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything bad about it, but sometimes it's difficult to, when we're doing the best that we can for the companies and working with them. And it, what I've learned personally is that sometimes it's hard for them to understand the whole strategy when we talk to them about everything. And honestly speaking, that's why they hire us. We will go through with them, we'll teach them, and then after a while, they kind of forget. It's like they don't understand fully why
Mm,
we're doing it. So we'll
sure.
catch them up on it again. And it's just being compassionate towards, look, we understand a whole lot. I mean, we've done this for so long, and the partners that we work with, they've done this for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
They've been in the digital market since 2001. They've seen all the different types of trends, and
Right.
so it's compassionate towards the startups, people who are new and fresh, and they're just barely dipping their feet in the water, and getting them to really understand and embrace why we're doing what we're doing. We've heard of a lot of people, again, one client that they've come from a traditional marketing aspect, and they transferred
Mm,
over to the digital marketing, and that transition for them was a bit difficult,
yeah.
because some of the strategies that we were trying to implement, or we were telling them, it's not that it didn't make sense to them. It's that, yeah, well, I mean, it didn't make sense, but not in the normal sense that they would understand.
Yeah, it's like a whole new book.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a whole new book.
Yeah.
It's a whole new thought. I had
Yeah.
one client come up to me. He goes, "Hey, we just talked for 2 hours and my head is exploding." And I said, "I apologize." He goes, what do you do like this for every day?" And I said, "Well, it's normal for me to go through this every single day." And he said, "That's kind of crazy." And I thought to myself, I mean, that kind of makes sense, for some people. So it's
Yeah.
learning to look at them compassionately and say, "Look, we honestly truly want you to grow. And we want you to understand this stuff, because we like to talk to our clients about the strategies that we're implementing, what we're doing, because we want them to learn as well. I mean, there will be a time where maybe things happen that they might not be able to pay us again. It's not because of our work, but maybe because money dried up somewhere, and we've had this happen, and we laid out strategies for them that they've been able to use.
I love
And
that.
that's great for
It's
us.
amazing.
So it's like, hey, that's great. Our goal is to give you the knowledge that we can, or to do the work for you, and we're very comfortable with doing that.
I love that. I love that. That's amazing. I think you definitely stand out. I mean, based off of what you told me already, I think that's
Thanks, I appreciate
amazing.
it. Thank you.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping up, there's just two more questions I have for you. One of
Awesome.
it being, um, just what's some advice you could give some entrepreneurs who are interested in the marketing sector? What is some advice to just start, or if they wanted to start their own marketing agency? I mean, what's your advice there?
Am I allowed to give my own personal experience with
Yeah,
Triumph and
for
growing up?
sure. Yeah,
Okay, great.
100%.
Great. So, one thing is, don't be afraid to spend money to test.
Mm.
Test. Be prepared to test. Don't be afraid. And I say that with my hands like this, because this is something that for me, when I was starting Triumph, I was very afraid to test.
Yeah.
I was very afraid to spend money on marketing. Well, will this work? Oh, I have to make it perfect. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Trust me when I say, if you focus on perfection, before you start a company, before you start something to focus on your mind, and this is a day-to-day task. Well,
Yeah.
perfection doesn't equal sales. It
Yeah.
doesn't. I've done stuff for Triumph specifically, sometimes at 80% or 90%, and
Yeah.
it's worked flawlessly. And I thought to myself, well, there's issues here, but yet it's just coming in. And I thought, did those issues really matter? That's the questions that we need to ask
I
ourselves.
love that.
And that comes through testing, because once we test so frequently, what happens is that we see one thing. So an example would be, I test for 2 months, and then at the end of the 2 months, I'm testing. I find one thing out of, let's assume 500, 600 tests, and it skyrockets, just grows.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to test. Don't be afraid to look at your customer persona and say, how am I going to create the best tests to resonate the most with you? And that's one thing that I would definitely say, because you're never losing money. You're collecting data.
Yeah.
And all of this data that you collect is essential for your business. You know what doesn't work. You know what works. You know who you're targeting, and you're testing out your hypothesis. My hypothesis is X. Did X work? No. Test Y hypothesis and move forward.
I love that. I think that is such vital advice, especially when starting up. Like when you're thinking about starting up, that is like the first, like one of the first 10 thoughts I think needs to come to your brain is like, you need to be open to test. And I love that. I've learned so much from you as an individual during this whole podcast, especially just like who you are, what background you came from, and just how you started both of these companies. How do people find you on this podcast? What is the best way to reach you and Triumph Supplements and LinkerDots? What are the ways people could find you?
Great question. For LinkerDots, you can find us at linkerdots.com. So it sounds exactly how it's spelled. And Triumph Supplements is triumphsups.com. That's for the nootropic, if you guys are interested in trying that. You could also reach out to me personally. I am very willing to answer questions that you guys would have. So you're welcome to shoot me a text. My phone number is 801-638-1358. I'm very open to it. And
love it.
One thing I did want to mention is don't be afraid to hire someone, if you don't do all the work, to hire someone to do this work for you who's done all the testing before as well. So you can find us those 3 places.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Vini. I really love this time with you. So thanks for being on the podcast. And my goodness, I really appreciate you taking your time today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. And I'm really grateful for the community that you guys have created and allow me to be a part of this podcast and this community. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Vini. We'll see ya.
See ya.
Thanks. If you'd like to learn more about START, visit STRT.com. Music featured on this podcast is by artist Angie Petty on her newest album, Timing. The single is called Timing.